This is Cruise Control. Your on-air automotive magazine with co-hosts Fred Staub and Les Jackson. Everything you need to know about new and used cars. Industry news. We'll fix or repair your car on the air. Fasten your seatbelts and let us take the wheel. Now, your ride is about to begin. Because you're on Cruise Control. Cruise Control. Cruise Control.
And welcome to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. I am Les Jackson. The other guy who will speak in a moment is Fred Staub. We are always here to share the knowledge we've gained in the past week on the automotive industry. And there's always something.
Yeah, there's always something, Les, and it seems like there's been no shortage of reveals. And we've got a big one. It includes the Chevrolet Silverado. They've upgraded the interior tremendously. We're going to tell you about that. And then they have their performance model, the Zr2, which is taking on the likes of the Raptor. We'll tell you about both of those, and super critical for Chevrolet to get these vehicles right, because hey, most of their sales are based off of the Silverado, right?
Boy, that sure is true. And speaking of sales and buying, anytime there's a hurricane that's caused a lot of flooding, you've got to worry about cars that were in floods and how not to buy them. And we're going to talk to you about that.
Yeah, because once they're flooded, I remember seeing that footage, say that car's headed to
Forget
the scrap heap. Yeah, it's not going to work. It's not going to be a good thing, and there are ways to avoid buying one. We're going to tell you about them. Also, we're going to look at Mercedes as they look into the future. Some of these things are a little wacky, and they kind of had fun this week looking into their own future. And we'll take you along for the ride and see what they have planned. How's that sound, Les Jackson?
That sounds like fun, and we're going to talk tech. This time, could your rearview mirror become one of the most sophisticated devices in technology in your next vehicle? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, I think next up, the retractable radial aerial will become some kind of high-tech thing. Or your windshield wipers. What do you think?
Do they? Nobody still has a retractable antenna, do they?
That's a good question. No, I don't think so. I think they're all fixed. But, yeah, an interesting bit of talking tech, and we'll talk about that. And I will have an at-the-wheel review of the Kia Sorento X-Line, the more capable Sorento, keeping up with the trend of making vehicles more capable. Really nice color on this one, really elegant looking. And if you're looking for a good mid-size CUV, we'll tell you about this one. A really nice interior. They made it sort of like a mini Telluride, trying to regain that or keep that magic going of the Telluride. So we'll talk about that and a whole lot more when we come back on Cruise Control. Don't forget to check us out at cruisecontrolradio.com, where you can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, all that and more. I'm Fred Staub. He is Les Jackson. We will be right back. Stay tuned.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Fred Staub and Les Jackson along with you, and we love to keep you up to date on what's going in the automotive industry. And big news, we've been talking about endless reveals, Les. There's a lot of reveals. The only problem is the companies cannot build these vehicles because they are short on chips, aren't they?
They sure are. This has to be so frustrating. And it's frankly, I think a lot of VPs of purchasing at many car companies have been sent off to other endeavors.
Well, yeah.
Because it was the fault of the industry. They weren't paying attention.
And then 5G came in, as you explained
5G,
last
yep.
week, and COVID and all kinds of things. And the sales loss is huge. And, you know, it's affected vehicles like the Chevy Silverado. And those are losses you don't want to have. But let's talk about the Chevy Silverado. This week, Chevy revealed the updated 2022 Silverado, and it's got some unique features. First off, they have enhanced the interior, and I tell you what, I never understood why GM could not put a great interior in the Silverado. Now they have. The old one used to be just a sea of flat black plastic. Now they've enhanced it and made it look good.
And the old one, I mean like a year ago.
You're right. That's what I'm talking about.
And when everybody else had updated their interiors in the trucks, GM still, you know, they looked, remember I told you they gave me one as a loaner a year ago when I was getting some recall work done. And it was brand new. It was a 2019 at the time. And it looked 10 years old inside.
Well, they've changed the interior. It's no longer that big sea of black plastic. It is now much more car-like on the inside. It's, you know, they brought out the high country model this week, which, of course, has very, very fancy seats and things. But the, you know, the overall look of the interior has been improved. The fit and finish, much more car-like, less black plastic and industrial snap fit, and more high-end. On the outside, they've done some tweaks, too, in the front of the vehicle, in the LED running lights, and that's more of a tweak, I would say, on the outside. But the inside is the big thing. Also, they have put in Supercruise, which is their, what would we call that? Level what autonomous? Is it 2?
Level, well, 3-ish.
Yeah, you can go hands-off with the wheel. And we first saw that introduced by in the Cadillac brand. But this is the first for a big pickup to have that, I believe, right?
That's true. And it's hands-off for short periods.
Yeah, hands-off for short periods. They've also enhanced the 2.7-liter Turbo 4 engine that builds like 300-plus horsepower, which is really great for towing. I think it can even tow with that small engine 9,500 pounds in the two-wheel drive version of the vehicle. And then they've come up with something really exciting, and I think they're taking on the Raptor here. The first ever Silverado Zr2 makes it the flagship of the off-road lineup. Of course, what have we been saying? Got to make the vehicles more off-road capable. Well, this is something that will take on the likes of the Ram TRX or the Ford Raptor. If you check the Zr2 out, it is lifted. It looks tough. It's got the flow tie in the front, which is the airflow capable bow tie emblem on the front of the grille. And I think they are going for the gusto here. They're going to take on Raptor for sure.
Yep.
420 horsepower out of a 6.2 liter V8 engine, 460 pound-feet of torque. That's a little lower than both, obviously, the TRX numbers, which gets the Hellcat engine, and the Raptor, which I believe is around 450 horsepower. It is the first application of a Multimatic 40mm DSSV spool valve damper, which feature 3 spool valves to control damping. And it also offers uniquely tuned springs that increase maximum front and rear suspension travel. And that is compared to the Silverado Trail Boss, which was formerly the big gun here. 33-inch off-road tires. So that is big. 31.8-inch degree approach angle. So this thing is pretty neat. Also, removable end caps on the bumper for avoiding rocks. Hey, we'll have more on
I see the Baja coming.
Yes, we'll have more on the ZR2 when we come back on Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control. I'm Les, he's Fred. We were talking about the new Silverado before the break, and it's finally great new interior, and the outside looks fresh and new, which they really need, and I think they've done a nice job. And inside, we began to talk about Supercruise.
Yep.
Which is the level 3 ish version, which is hands-free driving, not paying attention driving, but hands-free driving on about on compatible roads, which is about 200,000 miles of roads in the U.S. That's mainly the interstates.
Yeah. I think it's the first time we've seen that in a truck, full-size pickup truck.
Yeah.
And I think GM does a great job with it. It has a sensor on the steering wheel. If you take your hands off, the indicator grows to the point where you then have to put your hands back on. It's kind of analogous to what happens in a train, where you have a switch. You have to hit it every minute or so, and then a countdown timer starts. And then when it gets to the bottom, you have to hit it, or the train will stop, right?
That's right. I drove the Acela train from D.C. to Philadelphia as a stunt for the newspaper back in the 90s. And you constantly have to get in the habit of whacking the little knob on the dash. Otherwise, the train stops, and they don't like that.
No, and you'll have some explaining to do if it stops. But
a lot of explaining to do.
This is what it's analogous to, the cruise. So there you have it. But look forward to driving the Silverado. Look forward to checking out the ZR2. It's gonna be a lot of comparos coming up to Raptor. So exciting stuff, and we'll look into it. Now, of course, you and I in the Northeast have experienced some really bad weather, and a lot of people on the East Coast have experienced it. And, this might become a lot more common. And we should talk once again about flooded cars and why you don't want a car that's been flooded. Even if it's not salt water, especially if it's salt water, but even if it's just regular water, when water gets up and gets into the car and gets under the dashboard and gets to all the electronic controls, it basically starts corrosion happening, starts rust happening where the car is not really protected against rust, right?
Well, and we're talking about, this isn't distilled water in a flood. This is hideous dirt, mineral-soaked, toxin-soaked
salt from the
water.
Road.
Salts. I mean, it's electronic circuits can't take any non-cleanliness.
Yeah.
And they can't recover from it.
Yeah.
So, and the big problem is there is never a shortage of people in this world and in this country who, if they have something that's no good, are more than happy to cook up a good story to sell it to somebody else.
Make their problem your problem.
That's right. No scruples. So you've got to keep your radar up and don't get caught in one of these things.
Well, Chris Basso, who is the spokesperson for Carfax, was speaking with CNBC, and he estimated that there are 378,000 flood-damaged autos on the market before Hurricane Ida came through. And there was a lot of flooded vehicles. And you might ask, well, obviously, somebody, if they have insurance, they say, hey, my vehicle was flooded. What happens? We also have to remember lubricants get diluted. There gets to be all kinds of junk that goes into the engine, goes into the rear end or through the CV axle boots or anything. I mean, they're just not designed to be submerged, right? And so Chris said, well, how do these vehicles get back on the market? If you have insurance, they just say, well, that's totaled. Look at that. The water level was up inside, above the dash. Thank you. We'll give you money towards a new car. Well, sometimes people who don't have comprehensive insurance get out the old wet vac, get out some rags.
Or the pressure washer and clean it out and then...
Yeah, put some coins in the pressure washer at the do-it-yourself car wash, and then they sell it. And there is no record of it being flooded. But the thing is, there are certain things you can look for. Of course, a strong-smelling odor in the interior. Even if you pump in 50 gallons of Febreze, you're going to smell it.
It is. It is really, really hard to get a rancid, rotten odor out of an interior.
Yep. Loose upholstery or carpeting or damp carpets. And then it says, look for rust gathering around the doors, under the dashboard, on the pedals, or inside the hood and trunk latches, as well as mud or silt in the glove compartment and under the seats. That's a problem, isn't it?
It's definitely a problem. Shine a light above in the wheel well up into the shock absorber or McPherson strut, and it's probably going to be muddy or dirty up there.
He also said look around door handles and trunk latches and look for water in the interior or exterior lights, which is a good tip. I mean, if you see it in the dome light, by the rear view mirror, typically that's a problem.
And open the hood and take a flashlight and shine it into the alternator, because usually there are little holes or slots in the alternators for cooling, and you can see the windings, and that'll be full of mud.
Yeah, you will not be able to get it out of there.
You can't.
No. But really, once this happens, think of every connector, snap-together connector, that is not waterproof, that's behind the dash for everything. That's going to get corroded. All those little pins, some of these things have 30, 40 pins. Forget it. If you wanted to save the car, you would have to disassemble it, get a new wiring harness, clean every component, and you'd still miss stuff.
And that's going to be a $2,000 or $3,000 wiring harness. Hours and hours and hours of work.
Take it apart, and you still might have rust in places that it's just not designed to have water in. I mean, if you're getting rust on the brake pedals, that's a problem.
Yeah, but the problem is you've been stuck with it, and you just got to. You've got to be a detective.
I would even pull the dipstick out and look that there's not water in there. I mean, we all look at engines, see is there a bad head gasket. You look for what they call the milkshake, the chocolate milkshake.
Right.
That would be oil with coolant in it. But I would even look for water in there or just look around. And you can tell pretty much, because nobody, if they're getting rid of it, they're not going to spend hours cleaning it. They're just going to do a quickie wash down and say, hey, it's great, And could an engine be saved after it's submerged? If you didn't
it depends on if it was completely submerged, and water could go in the oil fill port or dipstick port. Then you've got to drain that engine completely and clean it out. Probably will be okay.
But once again, you're dealing with the electronics are going to be bad.
Exactly. All of the electronics running it will be bad, or eventually will be bad.
Yeah. Like when I saw those cars floating around, I thought, that's it. They're headed to the scrapyard. But hey, we're not headed to the scrapyard. We got plenty more to do, including looking at some of Mercedes' ideas for their future. We're going to talk tech about your rear view mirror checking in on you, and I'll have an at-the-wheel review of the Kia Sorento X Series, so stay tuned.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control. We're going to move over to the new Mercedes lineup. They have been flooding our inboxes.
Yes, they have.
With information in the last week. A bunch of new models, a bunch of new technologies.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in Munich this week, and a lot of new models, German models, have been revealed. And one of them is this Mercedes EQB. Mercedes is kind of taking a look at the future, right? The electric future. But, of course, it involves crossovers. It will always involve crossovers.
Well, I guess that's the law.
Yes, that is the law. This is the EQB. They brought this out as room for 7.
Well, yes, but you have to read the small print.
Used by people up to 5'4" tall.
That's pretty
seats
small.
in the third row.
Yeah. Okay. That's a limiting factor.
Yeah, that is a limiting factor. Like, make sure that all of your friends are 5'4" or less if they're going to use the third row of seats.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
It is sort of, when I read that this week, but you know me, and I was picturing myself in this, and the third row had Dopey and Sleepy, and the second row had Grumpy and Doc and Bashful, and it just got silly.
I just want a sticker with like a tall guy with an X through it, and then a shorter guy with like a thumbs up or like a green check mark, you know, like 5'4" or less. You know, it's like what they have at the rides, you know, like you must be this tall to take this roller coaster ride. That's what I was thinking of. But let's get back to the EQB. We're not making fun of the vehicle. It's just a funny thing to put that in there. This is an all-electric vehicle. EQB, the EQB 300 4MATIC will have 225 horsepower, and the EQB 350 4MATIC will have 288 horsepower. There'll also be a front-wheel drive model, and a long-range version is also planned. There's 1 year of Mercedes Me Charge included, which includes 60,000 public places to charge in the USA. Yes, you can bring any of your friends along that are 5'7" or less.
Any of your friends along who are 14 years old or less.
Yeah. You know, it looks like every other crossover, though, doesn't it?
I will say, it just doesn't seem to be very distinctive.
No. I mean, if you said, I want a 7-passenger Mercedes crossover, it looks very upright, doesn't it? It looks very, very tall. You know, they call it a function-oriented greenhouse with upright windshield. Kind of G-Wagon-ish, you know, the G-Wagon squared off. But it does have a good coefficient of drag at 0.28. And it offers, as they say, efficient driving pleasure.
I am going to be taking a long test drive in a GLA Mercedes at the end of the month.
Okay.
I'm going to put about 1,500 miles on it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it won't be an EQB.
It won't be an EQB. And it won't be this either. This is going to be Mercedes' first electric AMG. The new Mercedes AMG EQS with all-electric drive system. And it is the first AMG model to have this. Everyone thought, what will happen with the AMG brand when gas engines go away, you know? So the luxury sedan will have an output of 649 horsepower and a boost function that provides up to 751 horsepower.
Wow.
I guess do they sign the electric motor like they did? Are they hand winding these electric motors?
Yes, they do.
Of course, they do that with the gas engines. There's one person that builds up the engine, and then they sign it. But that is big horsepower numbers. Maximum motor torque, 700 pound-feet of torque. And then you can upgrade this with the Dynamic Plus package. That's the one that increases it to 751 horsepower. While using race start mode with boost function, the maximum motor torque also increases to 752 pound-feet of torque. Now, there's interesting, we talk about what will electric vehicles sound like and how will they convey performance. They have something called the AMG Sound Experience. It sounds like a 60s band, doesn't it?
It does.
And that was the vehicle sound, of course, is an important part of AMG driving. We know that. They bring a new, powerfully sonorous sound to electric driving. Its sound system uses special loudspeaker subwoofers and a sound generator to create a special sound experience. And you get two versions, less authentic and performance. And that is the exclusive sound experience. It's generated inside and out with a tonality and intensity to match current driving status, selected by the driver's preference. I'm reading right from the press release for that because I have to to use those pros. This is a big thing, I guess, for performance electric cars. To have that, I have to say this. It also has rear steering. Maybe that's the optional rear steering. I have to say this. As we get into these super powerful electric cars with instant torque, are people going to be able to handle 751 horsepower on the road? And the fact that you hit that pedal and it's an on-off, it's like flipping a light switch.
I think, because we've tried things like this, I think the average driver will try it once or twice, and then they won't use it again because it'll feel just too uncomfortable and a little bit too wild.
Have you ever noticed, I've noticed this, some drivers, when there's a subtle curve, even on a let's say a 55, 65 mile an hour road, they slow down because they begin to feel the G-forces pushing them a little sideways in the seat or whatever, and they slow down. They'll just throw their brakes on. There's no one around. The car can handle the turn at 55 miles an hour. When they experience heavy acceleration, I know even when I went to the drag racing school, and I've driven a lot of fast cars, we went 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds, and it was like every one of us, I mean, there were some braggadocious people in the course. Oh, I can drive anything. Of course. And I didn't go in that way, but I have to say, almost every one of us, you put your foot on the brake, you bring, we had a big block Chevy, you bring that up, to even 2,500 RPM, and you launch the car. Every one of us lifted immediately because it was shocking how hard you were thrown back in the seat.
Yeah, that's right.
But this vehicle and others like it, they're going to be able to generate such force that I wonder if people are going to be able to handle it. I really wonder if they're going to be able to handle this on the street. I mean, it's not like you hit the pedal and the engine revs up and, it eventually gets going. This is going to slam people back in their seats. And I think they might not be ready for it. But that is just my theory. That is just one more.
I think you're right. Of course, it has its own self-braking, so I think it'll lift and brake for you.
Yeah.
But I think most people will find it rather frightening, and they won't do it anymore.
Now, something a little bit more friendly, Les, the G-Wagon. This is a aspirational vehicle still for many people. I love this shot. It's looks like something out of a science fiction.
So you notice that they're outdoors, and there's a huge
mountain.
termite mound.
Yeah. Well, the G-Wagon, this was a German military vehicle. They were destined to stop building it, and then what happened? Everyone wanted a truck.
It caught on.
Yep.
I think it's goofy looking. I've thought that they looked like that for years and years.
Yeah, but it is aspirational. I met many people that I remember I worked with someone that had a board up on her desk, and she said, "I want one of these one day." Well, they're looking at making it electric, which is a very heavy vehicle, and the Concept EQG rides on 22-inch polished aluminum wheels. So there you have it. Looking at making the G-Wagon electric. Hey, we'll be back with plenty more on Cruise Control. Yeah, it already is. Yeah. Stay tuned.
Yep.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control. We're going to do a quick talking tech about your rear view mirror getting a lot more complex, Les. Of course, in the vehicle I'm driving right now, it's both the camera when the top is up, and we're going to have a future review on this, I should mention. It's the C8 Corvette convertible. When the top is up, it has a rear view camera that is projected on the rear view mirror, and then you can also flip a button and it becomes like a regular rear view mirror without the camera. But things are going to get a lot more complex according to Gentex, who builds rear camera display mirrors and other mirrors. They say they're going to actually become recorders, like many truckers use. They have the camera going all the time. And that you'll be able to save footage if there's a crash or other incident. They call it a surround vision recorder. And there's going to be a lot more functions in these things. It could also be used as a security device to recognize your face, much like a smartphone does, or even potentially see if you are impaired. Remember, some of the bills in Congress right now are talking about having some kind of impairment system that if you are impaired, you've been drinking, you're drugged, or whatever, to not let the vehicle start. So this could be the key to that, a rear view mirror, which, you think about it, it's some of the oldest tech on a vehicle, but it's getting a lot more high tech now, isn't it?
It is, and as time goes on, we'll see these pretty much completely replacing the rear view mirrors. Because look at the image you get in that Corvette.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really is amazing, and it's great. You think about trucks and backing up a pickup truck. You couldn't do it without a rear view camera. So there you have it. That's a quick talking tech because I wanted to jump into this vehicle. This is the vehicle we're going to do an at the wheel review of. It is none other than the Sorento, the Kia Sorento X-Line all-wheel drive. And you and I have been talking about X-Line and vehicles like it now for a while because what they're doing is making these crossovers that are basically vehicles that in the past have done duty taking people to soccer and around town and going to the grocery store and maybe some family trips. And now they're making them much more off-road capable. Now, they're not going to take on the Rubicon Trail, but they may just allow you to do a little bit more off-roading. And in the case of the Kia Sorento, this X-Line gets 1 inch more ground clearance than the standard Sorento. It gets enhanced underbody protection. It also gets a new all-wheel drive system with a snow mode. I know you're going to like that when you go skiing, Les Jackson.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and a more robust roof rack for all of your active lifestyle accessories. You just love that.
Well, the whole active. Well, anyway.
Yeah, and we're going to see these X-Line models permeate through the Kia crossover lineup for sure. I liked ours because it was in this cool Aruba green color, and it was powered by a 2.5-liter turbo engine, 311 pound-feet of torque, which is not bad at all, 281 horsepower. Came with a segment-exclusive 8-speed wet-clutch DCT, dual-clutch transmission. I have to say the jury's still out on that transmission. I found it had a few dead spots where you hit the throttle and then it just kind of has to catch up. I did not find it to be in my liking as how it shifted to be one of the best ones out there. But that said, I have to say what Kia has done is they have channeled the Telluride into the Sorento for 2021, which makes sense because they can't build enough Tellurides out there. And they have also made this vehicle much more upscale. It certainly no longer kind of fades into the rest of the crossover lineup. It is a beautifully done vehicle. I love the wheels on this, which are exclusive to the X-Line. And I think overall on the outside, they've taken it up many notches to look like a much more expensive vehicle. Of course, this is built in West Point, Georgia, and gets the great warranty that all Kias get with 100,000-mile, 10-year, 100,000-mile coverage in many areas of the vehicle. That is a standout. 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty, 5-year, 60,000-mile limited basic warranty, 5-year, 60,000-mile roadside assistance, which is really, really nice when you think about it. Great styling on the outside. I love the way the hood fit. Very clean. They've cleaned it up, made it more Telluride-like for your active lifestyle folks. And on the inside, really beautiful interior. And also, I mean, they do great. They do great interiors. They really do. They have the type upholstery that you would see in the Telluride. The switchgear on the inside is just beautiful. The displays are beautiful, all high-end, very comfortable. I took this on a long weekend trip, multi-day trip, and it is easy to use, easy to drive, and probably about the only thing I didn't like was the way the transmission shifted at times when you would call for power and it wouldn't be there. But on the highway, it was very smooth. And let's talk a little bit about what you get with the X-Line package. You get the 20-inch matte finished alloy wheels, which I think look beautiful. X-Line front and rear bumper fascias, matte trim accents, X-Line roof rails, leather seat trim with heated and ventilated front seats, Bose premium audio, surround view monitor, always good, a 12.3-inch digital cluster, heated steering wheel. I loved it. I even had it on with the air conditioning. Parking collision avoidance, aluminum sport pedals, auto dimming rear view mirror, and that was all included with the X-Line package, and then additional equipment, the X-Line Rust interior package, which was a $200 upgrade. That was the rust-colored seats, carpeted floor mats, carpeted cargo mat. So all told, before the X-Line, it was, well, the X-Line itself is $42,590. We added on those other accessories. That brought it up to $43,115,000. And with the inland freight, which is now $1,175, total out-the-door price was $44,290 for this well-equipped vehicle. I think people would like it if they were looking for something smaller than the Telluride, but with all the Telluride style and features, and you like a little bit tougher look with a little bit more ride height and that snow mode and the all-wheel drive system, X-Line might be for you. It's subtle color, that Aruba green with those matte finish wheels. I think it made it look elegant. I think it made it look sort of like a mini Range Rover or something like that. One thing it does not have, Les, is 2021 model year, is it does not have the new Kia logo. It still has the old Kia logo, but I'm sure for 2022 they will be bringing that new logo in. 28 miles to the gallon on the highway, 21 city for an aggregate number of 24. It's not rated for safety yet, but cool vehicle, 2021 Sorento X-Line all-wheel drive, and it's just going to get better for the next model year, 2022. Hey, we appreciate you listening to Cruise Control. Time for me to say I'm Fred Staub.
I'm Les Jackson.
We're going to see you down the road.
Bye. Excellent.